It's the Security Weekly News, and it is episode 444, which is triple death in Chinese. You bet. It's the Security Weekly News in the week of 19 January 2025. Welcome to the show. We've got Smishing, Microsoft, Star Blizzard, Sneaky Log, VMware, Josh Marpet, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. ThreatLocker implements a least privileged approach to cybersecurity, blocking every executable unless specifically authorized by your team. This methodology mitigates ransomware, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits, and ensures 24/7, 365.25 protection for your organization. To learn more about how ThreatLocker can help prevent known and unknown threats in your digital environment, safeguard your data and operations from threat actors, and align your organization with respected compliance frameworks, visit securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker. IT professionals, mark your calendars. Zero Trust World 2025 is happening in Orlando, Florida, February 19th to 21st. This event is tailored for IT leaders and cybersecurity experts who want actionable insights on zero trust strategies, practical solutions for modern threats, and meaningful connections with industry peers. Plus, take advantage of hands-on cyber hero boot camps, expert-led sessions, and the chance to earn CPE credits and your cyber hero certificate. Save $200 on your in-person registration using discount code ZTWSW25 at securityweekly.com/ZTW2025. Reserve your spot now. All right, it's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment, or I will force you to write linked list programs in C++, or I'll make you write Hello World in Malbolgia, or Malbodge, or however you say that. Yeah. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's quite interesting. All right. Well, as a brief reminder, Microsoft announced that Exchange 2016 and Exchange 2019 will reach their end of extended support in October of this year. 2016 reached its end date in October 2020, and 2019 hit end of mainstream support last January, year of the city 2022. Both of these have had their chips flashing red for a while now. Okay, that was two Logan's Run references. I used to know this trombone player, and no, it isn't Riker, but it was someone that I knew that made their own Sandman costume. I mean, I really love that book and the movie, but it's like Full Metal Nerd stuff. Anywho, after the 14th of October, there will be no more technical support for any sorts of problems with those two war horses who've been put out to pasture. They will stop issuing time zone updates and security fixes as well. So you're basically screwed. Their advice: migrate to Exchange Online or upgrade to Exchange Server Subscription Edition, which is called SE, I think. And that's not out yet, but it's supposedly rolling out this year sometime. And their site said early H2, whatever that means. I don't know, second half. I've never seen that term before. I guess they're trying to invent something new. I don't know what H2 is. I've heard, quarter three or whatever, but H2 got me. Anyway, you can perform an in-place upgrade if you're running 2019 to Server SE, apparently, according to Microsoft. If you're still on 2016, it may be best to take old Yeller to the barn. But they did basically say if you are on 2016, you can update. You literally have to do a full reinstall, reset up kind of thing. I don't think there's an upgrade path from 2016 to much of anything. Although you might be able to, I think you can upgrade 2016 to 2019 and then maybe upgrade. I don't know, but you probably best be planning if you're running one of those things, because your Exchange is going to suddenly go off the rails in October. And, it takes a while to do an upgrade on Exchange. So start now. Russian bad guys, Star Blizzard or Star Blizzard. I don't know. I guess it depends on who you know. Star Blizzard has been running a new spear phishing campaign trying to compromise WhatsApp accounts of targets in government, diplomacy, defense policy, international relations, and Ukraine aid organizations. The campaign was observed by Microsoft Threat Intelligence back in November of 2024. Basically, the attack starts with an impersonation of a U.S. government official. So, a drooling idiot. I'm sorry, everyone. A U.S. government official and an email message to the target, and they invite them to join a WhatsApp group related to non-governmental initiatives supporting the Ukraine. Or in Robert Kennedy's case, no, I'm not going to go there. Not going to go there. It involved leeches and hair dye, but we're not going there. Okay. Anyway, it's basically a QR code. If you respond, you get another email with a shortened link that sends you to a fake WhatsApp invitation page. It's got another QR code. That QR code, oh, it's a good one. It is a link a new device code. So basically what that means is if you click it, it links one of Star Blizzard's devices to your WhatsApp account. Yeah, which basically means Star Blizzard can access your page. They can exfiltrate all your data from WhatsApp. Who knows? I guess they could post if they wanted to. But the attack is, however, totally reliant on the victim clicking on the QR code. So maybe advise your people about that. I mean, you know how hard it is to stick a QR code sticker on a restaurant table over the one that's already there that says read our menu? Yeah, that takes you to like a hardcore, but that never happened to me. But I mean, even I could do this with a printer and a little ink and, go to a restaurant. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So even if Star Blizzard is not after you, somebody is. So, those stickers on the ski lift poles. Yeah, I've seen QR codes on there too. And people are like scanning them and you're going like, are you insane? I mean, it doesn't even claim to be anything. Of course, people are, how people are. They support Robert Kennedy. No, I'm going to do that. Okay. A new phishing kit is called Sneaky Log. Not my favorite name, but regardless. And it's apparently a phishing as a service kit for the discerning hacker of tomorrow. Sequoia said these pages have been being sold since at least October 2024 on Telegram. And the kit includes the ability to, this is probably one of its great features. It can autofill the email address on a phishing site. So when you actually click the link, you go to the phishing site, your email address is already pre-filled out in the little, username box. Which makes people think, well, that's a real thing. And apparently the site also has a blurred out picture from Microsoft web pages in the background to make it look like you're almost there. Just log in and you're going to be able to see these astounding things in the background. Basically, it has a lot of tools to evade bots. So like if it detects a bot, it basically shows you harmless content or it redirects you to somewhere the bot to Wikipedia or something like that, according to Oasis Security. So I think the lesson is that a lot of people are really working hard to compromise your Microsoft credentials because you have to log into that so often that you almost do it without thinking, right? I mean, how many times do you log into Microsoft regularly because it's a single sign-on for your company or your school or whatever? And you just get used to it. Pops up, says, please log into Microsoft. And you log into Microsoft. And, and we all know how hard it is to duplicate one of those login screens. It's really important that you have endpoint protection as well as filtering in place because some of these things are getting past your filtering detection. And somebody's going to click the link and fill out the form. So if you can do that, and apparently this kit can even get the two-factor credentials that are being sent if they're being sent to your host machine, instead of like to a separate device or something like a YubiKey, they're actually intercepting this stuff on the way. And just warn your people constantly. Hang on, I have to log into Microsoft. Just a sec. Okay, got it. Broadcom, how we love to loathe you. Broadcom, of a bizarre business model which seems to be designed around negging their customers, bought VMware, which was, I don't know if it was beloved or not, but VMware was very popular. And almost immediately after buying it, started doing all kinds of things like going, you know what you're paying now? You're going to pay a lot more. Yeah, you will too. They're kind of like your local heroin dealer. Just sort of you go down to the corner at Lexington and 125th Street, which is not like that anymore, by the way, but that's in a Lou Reed song. And or actually it's a Velvet Underground song, but, which is, of course, a Lou Reed song. But I mean, you go down there and they say it's not $26 anymore. It's $260. I have no idea what heroin costs. That's again from a song, so it may not be true. But they also came after me. I had a cheap academic license that let us use it for teaching students about virtual machines and VMware and how to run projects on it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was great. They were like, sorry, your academic project is now canceled. We will be able to let you buy a full retail license for full retail price. So I basically quit paying the $1,500 I paid every year to VMware and didn't renew for the $100,000 plus that they, told me I had to pay. Not a smart move in my opinion, but hey, I went to open source Proxmox instead. Now, this article, which I think is useful to you despite all my ranting, the article is talking about how difficult it will be if you do decide to move. And it was based on a Gartner reporter. And they basically said, well, Gartner says, not if, but when you move, renewing our faith in Broadcom. But basically, the paper is called Estimating a Large-Scale VMware Migration, and says that if you have 2,000 or more VMs and 100 servers, it will take 18 to 48 months to migrate them, and each machine will cost between $300 and $3,000 to migrate. I don't know how they came up with these numbers, but it doesn't sound unrealistic to me. And then, of course, you'll have a new landlord. So now you've switched from VMware to VxWare, and it's just as bad. Maybe, I don't know. The paper estimates that full scoping will require 7 to 10 full-time staff for a month. And I can tell you from my own migration, it's not easy. And I had about 3 whole boxes to migrate off my 2 now defunct ESXi systems that I can't afford anymore. But boy, you really showed me and those students, Broadcom. We learned our lesson. But it was an ordeal. I'm from learning a new platform that was not the same, setting up the new platform. Of course, that's what interns are for. Thanks, John. And then actually moving things that may be old, weird, perverted, and no, not me, but the VMs. I mean, is that old Windows XP VM still chugging along, or that copy of Debian Sarge? Do you have a copy of Solaris 8 running, or maybe a PDP 11 emulator that Dr. Glorfeld is using to do that weird experiment that might cause a solar system level catastrophe, but probably won't? Well, do you even know what all you got on all those racks down in the tunnels when you have to get to the server room on a raft pulled along by a guy who calls himself Mr. Sharon, that maybe not on the HR registry? Yeah, we've all been in that tunnel, right? I mean, did I just see a human sacrifice going in the doorway before Rocco Lamponi slammed the door in my face? Well, did you? I mean, this is a big ordeal, and this paper is worth your time to take a quick read. Red Hat was pitching OpenShift virtualization engine last week, and they said they will allow unlimited VMs on a single or dual socket servers with up to 128 cores, Proxmox, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, people are running for the exits, I think, or at least looking for exit signs in the smoke in the theater showing Battlefield Earth. So it might be time. Broadcom has a unusual business model, in my opinion, that I don't really understand. And I voted for Palpatine. I mean, come on. All right. Administrator protection is a feature in Windows 11, which required originally some kind of administrative access, a lot of complication to actually enable. It's basically sudo, I think, but they call it just-in-time administrator privilege. Now, much like Unix users who always type SU as the first thing they do when they log in, most home users run Windows as local admin, if nothing else. A lot of enterprise users have been given administrative privilege because they want to install things or whatever, or they have processes that require it. And that means just like running as root, if you do something in Windows and you're the admin, well, as we say in the industry, it's bad. You click that link that runs format volume or something that runs RM-RF star, and you'll have a bad day. And by you, I mean your IT people. The feature in Windows is only available currently on the Insider Canary build, which I don't actually run because I'm terrified of it. I'm like, oh yeah, so the Canary is what you send forward to see if it dies, right? Yeah, I think I'll pass on that. But in the Canary build, it will allow users to activate this mode. And I know I'm kind of deriding it, but it actually has a lot of good features. So, I mean, I think if you're an admin though at home, you can just turn it on. Like you can manually turn it on. It basically works like sudo. So if a process is wanting admin privilege, it pops up a prompt and the user can say, oh yeah, go ahead. And of course they always will. But unlike giving that process admin power, it doesn't persist like sudo. It just does what it needs to do, and then it goes away. Now, this doesn't help you if you click on something bad, because then you just said, okay, go ahead. But I do like the idea, and the permission is not persistent. The feature is currently off by default, and it requires a group policy change in enterprise environments to enable it. But after this build 27774, it can be enabled in the Windows security settings under account protection. I think it's worth investigating and seeing, is this going to be useful or not? And I mean, obviously it has downsides too, like putting all your users as sudoers, but it may be an improvement over just letting them all be local admins, because I've seen that in plenty of like university labs and stuff. Every user is a local admin or worse. Research from Omdia shows that the latest top smartphones from Apple, Google, and Samsung all failed to detect several common types of phishing attacks. Now, this was reported in their fourth annual Omdia, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, Omdia Mobile Device Security Scorecard report. They surveyed 1,572 consumers in 13 countries back in October. That seemed kind of like a small sample size, doesn't it? I mean, if you're doing that much, I mean, there's supposedly approximately 4.88 billion smartphone users in the world, which would be about 60% of the total population of the planet. And 1,572 divided by 4.88 billion is 0.00000322 of the population. Sorry, it's just a statistician and the statistician in me. Anyway, the consumers surveyed said their most common problem was phishing. And phishing, trying to get them to give up all their, various information. But only 24% of the sample reported they'd experienced phishing. I mean, I guess the way they asked a question, maybe that means they fell for it. I don't know, because it seems like a pretty low number to me. I mean, I would have thought that if they said, have you ever seen phishing on your phone, it would be about 100%, given the number of phishing, smishing, and whatever fancy word they come up for whatever else is going on messages I get each week, including, toll-free call coming from your home. Is, hi, my name is Bob. I'm here to help you with your phone. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Bob. But I mean, I get a message every week about a package containing live animals down at the postal building that's going to be incinerated if I don't click the link. I mean, although I did have a live animal at the cargo terminal, and the link was pretty similar. And fortunately, Squeaky did not get sent wherever they send packages that seem to be growling that no one has claimed, and we did get him. But Omdia did test the phones, including the latest models, to see if the devices would catch simulated spam calls, text messages, and phishing emails. They said that Samsung Internet blocked most bad links, but that Xiaomi Mi and OnePlus didn't even detect when malicious links were being loaded. So don't assume your mobile devices are safe in your enterprise. And remember, that mobile device that you don't care about, that is compromised, is probably coming into your enterprise network right about now on the 35th floor and connecting to your Wi-Fi while we speak, or while you're stuck in traffic listening to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're sitting on the George Washington Bridge, and you know what's happening. All right. I always wonder why we don't have like RFID license plates on our cars. I mean, you see these people with like a cardboard sticker that says lost plates, and you're thinking, could they just not put an RFID license plate on the car, and then like police officers could just scan that as you went by and see if it was valid or not? I mean, why don't we have digital driver's licenses? But then I have to go to the DMV because they listed my middle name as Tiberius and claim I have an unregistered Trabant 601 that has supposedly been illegally modified to run on jet fuel. And after taking my waiting list ticket from a little roll of tickets and finding that my number was actually listed in scientific notation because it's so large, and I finally get to the window days later where poor Carla is trying to replace the paper in a double-wide Okadata dot matrix printer, and then proceeds to look up my non-existent Trabant by typing select star from illegal cars table where owner equals Tiberius before telling me I need a form that proves I don't own any sheep and mules. That last one was real. I got that once at the DMV. It was not in the state of Rhode Island. I don't know what they asked for here. Are any of your relatives in the mafia? No, I shouldn't say that. But it would be nice if we had that. I don't really care. I've had a driver's license for a long time, and I think the first one I got was obtained in a 1968 Chevrolet Chevelle with 3 on the tree gears because the examiner wouldn't ride my MG, so I borrowed that thing from some guy that was sitting there waiting to take a driver's test. I mean, my MG didn't have any seat belts, and it didn't have a roll bar, and this, middle-aged gentleman who was supposed to give me this driver's test was like, I'm not getting in that thing. I was like, it's not really that dangerous. It probably won't run long enough for me to take the test anyway. But the UK is making digital licenses an option that's going to run on your phone, kind of like Global Entry or TSA does for your passport. They said physical licenses will still be issued, but the digital options will be introduced later this year as part of a wallet called gov.uk. I doubt the USDMVs are going to be on board anytime soon, because I think I saw an IBM 3270 terminal the last time I went in for that eye test. I memorized the eye test like 12 years ago, and it never changes. Hint, CDEFL. It's actually written on the table if you pay attention. Yeah. Well, I found a picture of Josh from back in the day. It's quite an interesting picture. He had hair and dreadlocks, but it looks a lot like him. Hopefully they put it up on the screen. So please welcome Josh Marpet. Hi, Josh.
I've never had dreadlocks.
Well, maybe this actually isn't you.
Barely ever had
but,
hair. I think I started shaving my head when I was 27. So,
oh, okay. You're one of those. I had a friend in high school who had like a beard when he was in like the fourth grade. There's literally like pictures of it, like Mrs. Miller's fourth grade class, and you see him over there on the end, and he's got like I'm like,
I may have bought underage alcohol for everybody in my dorm.
Yeah, there's always those guys. I had also a friend who looked old. When he was like 16, he wore like sweater vests, and he just looked old, and smoking a pipe. He'd go in the liquor store. They're like, "Good afternoon, sir."
I may have been 17 buying alcohol for everybody in my dorm, but I'm old enough that this was literally like cases of Keystone and Olympia and beer balls. Do you remember the beer balls? Most people don't remember them. That's how old they are.
do.
But it was like a little sort of mini throwaway keg, and I used to pick those up.
I knew a place where they had a sign that said, "We'll fill anything with beer for $2."
Anything. We don't find. Bring your fish tank.
I literally saw a guy get an aquarium filled with beer one time.
I was joking. Good.
It had a funky taste. I was like, "Did you use this aquarium?" He's like, "Yeah, my fish were in it till they all died." I'm like, "All right, pour me another one."
This explains a lot about you. This explains a lot about you, Doug. But anyway, let's talk about some other explanation things. I throw an article in there that I thought was interesting. It's not a huge technical article, but in light of the fact that we're in the week of the presidential inauguration, over 200 executive orders signed, some of which are very political, some of which are very technical. This is actually relevant. There is going to be a huge amount of regulatory confusion and regulatory changes over the next few weeks, months, and years. Okay. This is not a political thing. This is just this administration has said they're going to change stuff. Okay. And what does that mean for us as technologists? And what does that mean for us as CISOs? That means that we have to maintain not only our knowledge of what's going on in the regulatory world, we have to maintain our equanimity, because otherwise we'll go freaking crazy. But we also have to maintain the ability to guide our organizations through risk. If you're being told that you are mandated to provide 100% security for your organization, and because framework XYZ has stated that, just quit now. Go get another job, because there's no way to be 100% secure. And anybody that thinks that, well, throw them out of your house, because honestly, it's ridiculous. And by the way, the reason I sound like a pack-a-day smoker, or as my wife so lovely put it, I sound like one of the smoking ants on The Simpsons. Hey, Selma, how you doing? It's because my children, my little petri dishes that I love so much and adore, got me sick for pretty much 2 weeks straight. So forgive me for sounding this way. But in any way, CISOs have a job, and that is to guide your organization through risk. These risks are sometimes known, sometimes unknown. Sometimes you know what you don't know, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know, the Johari window problem. And I've stated this probably 100 times. But if we can understand the risks that are out there and the regulations that are trying to keep us safe from risk, but sometimes increase our risk. I mean, the SEC guidelines for you must report an incident in 4 days. Okay, can you define an incident for me? Because I'd love to know what that means. Oh, but there's various forms of NEs, which are reportable incidents. I forget what the N stands for. But the point is that they have definitions of an incident, except it revolves around things like exposure of MNPI, material non-public information, or if it's a substantive incident, basically, is most of these definitions boil down to. Can you define substantive in some form? Dollars, record numbers, something? The answer is never, yes, here's your definition. It's always, well, take your best guess, and we're going to sue you afterwards. That's terrifying. And as a CISO, that's incredibly terrifying. How can you, as an officer of the company, make decisions based on things that aren't defined? It's almost impossible. You have to fly by the seat of your pants. This is why the alternate job title for CISOs is, as always, designated scapegoat, because that's what they are. And so, as CISOs, we have to maintain a knowledge of the regulations, a knowledge of the risks, understanding of how those risks are changing, and understanding of how those regulations are changing. If you can keep up with those things, great. If you can, please tell me how. My job is a compliance-based job, and I spend probably 2 hours a day reading up on news stories about compliance and frameworks and standards, and I can't keep track of all the ones in the US, much less the foreign countries that I'm responsible for dealing with as well. It is a bloody nightmare. Now, I'm not telling you it's impossible, and I'm not trying to tell you that you shouldn't do this. I'm trying to tell you that as CISOs, you should realize there are limits. And by the way, let's be clear on one of the limits. Don't ignore your family. Have a work-life balance. If you don't, that's the fastest way to burn the hell out. But there are limits to what you're able to do. There are limits to what you're funded to do. And there are limits, frankly, to what you're allowed to do by the board. This is okay. These are the limits we have to operate under. And that's why at the end of the day, we offer choices, high risk, mid risk, low risk, to the board and let them make the decisions. That's our job. Thank you. Doug.
Sorry, I was imagining you as Selma. You know what? I was on the 7 train one time and I saw this kid and he was licking the like, the pole. He was just like licking it. And then he turned to his mother and went, "This tastes like grandpa's hand." And I was like, oh my God. She was like, don't do that, honey.
Be happy it was his hand.
Yeah. Speaking of kids as petri dishes. But hey, I bet that kid's got an immune system. You could toss him out in an Ebola epidemic and he'd just be like, "I'm fine. I don't get it. What's the big deal? Like I sneezed once and I'm good." Yeah. Thank you, Josh. And finally, oh, this one's super controversial. I'm probably going to get banned. I don't know. But I mean, now, don't get me wrong, okay? I am strongly 100% opposed to child pornography, abuse of children, and the abuse of animals. I would gladly support public executions of child molesters and animal abusers. So I just want to say that right up front. I mean, this is not about that. It's about something complicated. So last year, California passed a law against the possession or distribution of child sex abuse material that has been generated by AI. And I thought that was immediately very strange because and again, please understand, I'm not advocating this. Okay. I'm just talking about the law. And it went into effect on the 1st of January, and they arrested someone on the 16th named Darren Bell, who is apparently like a prize-winning poet or a prize-winning cartoonist or something like that. Now, I'm not here to defend or prosecute Mr. Bell. I don't know the case, but basically this guy was charged by the regional ICAC, and the ICAC is the Internet Crimes Against Children Unit. They do a great job. Please support your ICACs any way you can. But the ICAC produced charges against Bell for distributing 18 files and 134 videos that were generated by AI. And I guess the reason I bring this up is it's interesting to me how you define a child or a minor when they're generated by AI and they effectively have no birth date or what. I mean, even in real cases, in real child pornography cases, it's sometimes difficult to determine if someone's 15 or 19 years old. One's illegal, one's not. So if an AI generated image is used to prosecute you, how do you determine what that image actually is since it was sourced from nothing? So the law, I pulled it up, it's really, and I'm not an attorney and I'm not trying to represent myself as one. The law is really complicated. It has a lot of preachy stuff in it, which I don't think laws should have in there. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the law, talking about how bad all this is and whatnot. And maybe that's how they write bills. I don't know. But it basically says in section 2, part 311, subpart A, subpart 3, that the person being charged has to know that the person was under 16 years old. And this is buried in pages and pages and pages. And they also defined AI as, listen to this definition, an engineered or machine-based system that varies in its level of autonomy and that can, for explicit or implicit objectives, infer from the input it receives how to generate outputs that influence physical or virtual environments. I'm like, wow, college professor much? I mean, it's like, could we make the law any more convoluted and complicated? I mean, it's really confusing to me. I mean, I was trying to sort through this thing. I started asking AI to interpret it for me, but I mean, I think it covers just about everything and also nothing. I mean, I wish laws could be written in clearer language, like Confucian law requirements, which that, everyone should be able to understand them, instead of saying really elaborate, bizarre things like this. I mean, how many years and lawsuits will it actually take to determine what all this means? I mean, is it back on what Josh was talking about all these, changes that are coming soon? The bill goes on and on and on. I mean, it's pages and pages and pages. And so my question was, and I try to answer this question using the bill. When is a cartoon underage? When does this apply? I mean, and again, please, I'm not advocating for this. I'm not defending child molesters or child porn producers. I'm not. It's all about the law. It just seems like this law is designed to fail almost because, I mean, how could someone know that a cartoon is under 16 years of age or that an AI was used or not? I mean, the bill covers everything from pictures to video, and it does talk about pictures generated from collections of child pornography. It's hard to prove child pornography anytime, let alone when you're trying to prove now that it was generated with an AI or not generated by an AI. I mean, I get it. They're basically saying that using real child porn to generate AI child porn is bad and should be prosecuted. 100% support. But I just don't understand how this very complex law gets interpreted fairly. I mean, what about anime? Or, I mean, if you look at something like Tank Girl, I'm not talking about porn anime. I'm just talking about like, okay, here's an anime. All the characters in anime look like kids. So, but they often don't behave like kids. And I mean, and of course, there's kinds of anime that could be considered child pornography under this law, even if it's not. I'm not sure. I mean, all the anime characters look like children to me. Like Tank Girl does not look old enough to be driving a tank. I got to tell you. And I mean, and some of that stuff gets a little bit weird and it's coming from another country often where, maybe the rules are different. But anyway, this law probably means other laws are coming out about AI and how AI generated things are going to be interpreted. I don't think this law is very good. Now, again, maybe somebody will call me and go, you're an idiot. If you were a lawyer, you'd understand this completely. But it looked really confusing. And it looked like I could prosecute all kinds of people if I want to. And I'm probably going to lose because when they get to court and they go, I don't know, I thought this cartoon character was 18 years old. I don't know. How old is a cartoon character? I mean, Fred Flintstone's pretty old, but how old is Tank Girl? I really don't know. And are they any age at all? I mean, how do you figure that out? Is there some kind of cartoon year to human year equivalency chart like you have for your cat? That, says my cat's 10 years old. It's a geriatric. I'm like, well, I wish it would slow down a little. But anyway, my point here for you is, as CISOs and so forth, think about your policies on this stuff and how you're going to address this kind of thing. Because I think all kinds of wacky laws may be showing up pretty soon, written by people who maybe don't really understand AI, who called a local college professor and said, what's your definition of AI, Sid? And the guy read something to them and they went, that sounds great. Put it down. We got to stop this. And, like, do you use AI, Bob? No, I don't. I would never touch that crap. What is that? Is it run on a Bakelite phone or what? But anyway, I will next be live at the Millennium Alliance event in Dallas, Texas on the 28th, which is next week on this day. And I'll still be there on the 29th of January too. So if you're going to be there, please look me up. And that is the news. Thank you, Josh. And I will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.